All right. Welcome once again to another episode of Sports Therapy with FH Jr. I am your host. A little bit about the show. These are the rules for the rule breakers. Keep in mind that Sports Therapy with FH Jr. is sports entertainment and sports entertainment only. We don't talk politics. I don't give a fat rat's butt what the Democrats are doing, and nor do I care what the Republicans are doing. We don't talk sexual orientations. All are welcome. And we do not talk race relation. We just keep it moving. And once again, our sponsor is always Crown Royal. Crown Royal is always our sponsor. As you can see, I am decked out in the Commander gear, always sporting the cool beard. And I have a Tyler Heineke jersey. That's right. Paying a little bit of homage to my man, Brother Heineke. But today's show is going to be action packed. One thing about it, callers, you will have 2 minutes to call. You can rip, rant, kick some knowledge, and do all things possible, as long as it is legal. And the number to call if you want to be a guest on the show is always 940-329-4110. And we're coming to you live, as we always do, Sunday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. This will always be our time. Now, normally I wear I always wear the standard, the standard Commander shirt. But this year I'm going to mix it up a little bit. And in fact, I'm going to break out the new standard uniform, and that won't be until game one. So game one of the regular season, not preseason, that's when you'll get to see the new uniform. But today will be a different show. We're gonna talk about the you guys know how I feel about preseason, but we're gonna talk about preseason. First preseason game that we had between the JETS Jets and those Browns, as well as we're gonna cover a little bit about this week's because I think this week is gonna be the actual start of the preseason game, because the last game was just part of the Hall of Famer. And we're going to talk a little bit about the speeches of the Hall of Famers, and some of those speeches really touched my heart. So we're going to talk about that. But believe it or not, I have a special guest. You guys know that this is Dry Dock, and I always tell people during Dry Dock, that is that time between preseason, getting back into the groove of watching football, and we always do NFL. NFL football is all we do. Now, occasionally, if someone want to call and talk about college, okay, hey man, you got 2 minutes. It's Dry Dock. That means we are just filling in some time, getting us back into the groove of football watching. So if you want to call and talk about, how hard it is, da 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 da. But we have a special guest for today's show as part of our community outreach. You guys know how I do it. I always allow anyone, if you got something going on in the community and you want to call and talk about your project, your program, your business, as long as it's legal, hey, we could. I'll give you the platform, because my deal is, hey, look, man, it's all about the community. So if you want to call in, if you got something going on, and we'll make that work out for you. But like I said, we have a special guest. Hopefully, if she can shake away from her duties, she's gonna call in and visit with us a little bit and tell us about because and I don't want to give too much of of what my guest speaker is going to be talking about, but I know we're gonna touch on the subject of mental health, because you guys know, like I said, now I am a real counselor, and I always tell people, when you call in, the advice I give, this is all fun and yucks. I don't give medical advice, but I am a real a real counselor now. Hey, let's get that straight. So I do that for a living. I do this for fun and yucks. But I am a real counselor. So we're going to have, if my presenter can shake loose, because she does have duties because she is a real counselor. And so, but if she's able to shake loose, she's going to call in and, and then, but a little bit about my guest speaker. She's going to come and she's going to talk to you about mental health. In fact, we met as part of this training that I was doing, and I told her, I said, hey, you know what? I have got to get you on my show. So you know what? Without any delay, I am going to answer the phone call and see do I have my call. And this is Whitney Dixon, and she is from Base Point, and she's going to be coming talking to us and you guys and giving out some vital information about mental health as well as with teenagers. So I'm going to see can I get her in here. Sports Therapy with F.H. Jr.
Hey, Frank, this is Whitney. How are you doing?
Whitney, hey, thank you for being a guest on my show today. A little bit about the show, because you know this is sports talk. This is fun and yucks, but during this time, I call this dry dock, Whitney. This is where, in between football and just kind of getting back into the groove, we do community outreach, and so that's why when I met you, I said, you know what, I got to get her on the show because you know what, I knew you see sports recognize sports, and I said, hey, I know she's in the sports, so I got to tackle her and get her on my show. So, Whitney, you're coming to us from, and your company is called Base Point Academy, and you guys work with teenagers. So, in fact, you have a real degree. You have your master's in LCDC. If anybody don't know what that stands for, you are a licensed chemical dependency counselor. Did I get that right or wrong?
You got it.
All right. Hey, now, I believe you are, I don't know if you're a professional football team member, but I do know what is your football team? Is it the Horned Frogs?
So, yes, I'm a diehard TCU Horned Frogs fan. That's where my parents met, and they met in the athletics journalism department. And I still watch the Cowboys on Sundays, but I stopped emotionally investing in them and, kind of the Tony Romo.
Hey, look now. On this show, there is no fan shaming now. Be true to your team. Go down the drain. Be like Drano. Go down the drain with your team. Hey, but let me ask you this question. Then we're going to transition into, what you do so you can give some information to my listeners. Now, TCU, you guys are the Frogs. Now, there's this little hand signs that you guys make, and I don't know if you know how to make it. It's for the little horned frog. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Frog sign.
Yes.
It's like you're holding it too, and you fold over your fingers.
So you know how to make the sign?
Oh, yes. I've been making it since I was in the womb, Frank.
I got you. Hey, you know what? Let's push on because I know your time is valuable, and then because I appreciate you coming. Can you tell? I'm gonna give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do about your company, and then how you can be a service to our community as far as teenagers and mental health and all that good stuff. Okay.
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be on. Again, my name is Whitney. I serve as the Director of Educational Partnerships for Base Point Academy, and we are laser focused on adolescent mental health. So we're local to DFW. We have 3 sites across the area in Arlington, McKinney, and Forney, which is just a little bit east of Dallas. But we are a smaller family-owned company that unfortunately stemmed from the tragic loss of our co-founder's daughter and sister. She tragically completed suicide back in 2012 due to some mistreatment and mismanagement of her medication when she was under the care of a psychiatric provider. And so this family went on a mission to provide accessible and understandable and evidence-based mental health care to adolescents because they were trying to be part of the solution to Texas being dead last in the country in access to mental health care services. Yep.
Wow, that's good information. Hey, let me ask you. I have your brochure in front of me, and believe it or not, I was reading from front to back, and I want to ask you this question here. And I noticed there's some terminology here. PHP and IOP. Now, I used to believe it or not. I don't know. Did I tell you this? I was actually a mental health tech 3 years, so I'm very familiar with what the service that you guys provide. And now here's my thing. I work with teenagers because I tell my listeners, I am a real counselor. Someone may think I'm not, but
Mm-hmm.
here's the deal: there are not, and what I have noticed that there were not a lot of service providers for teenagers, and I'm glad to know that you guys are out there as a resource. And so when we talk about PHP and IOP, can you elaborate a little bit about what is that and how it affects the my listeners and anybody else?
You bet. So PHP stands for Partial Hospitalization Programming, and IOP stands for Intensive Outpatient Programming. Both of which are levels of mental health care that are outpatient treatment, but they're a little more intensive than what you would normally think of as most families go and see maybe a psychiatrist for medication management, or they see a therapist or a counselor maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks or even once a month. So it's kind of what I equate to the physical therapy of mental health. You're going every day, you're getting group therapy, individual therapy, and family therapy on a Monday through Friday basis, but you're not staying at that facility like you would think in a hospital or a residential program. So it's all outpatient. It kind of mimics the schedule of a school day, but you're just going and you're getting intensive group therapy and individual and family therapy during the day.
Okay, got you. And Whitney, my main reason for bringing you on is because and I won't even have to say believe it or not to you because you work in this field, but my emphasis was the fact that some of my same listeners have their parents, and this for me gives us a platform to reach some of those same parents who may not have the resources or they may not be plugged in because they may not
Mm-hmm.
be plugged in. So for me, it was about using this platform to link those parents up to whatever services that are out there. Because like I told you, I remember we had to, man, there were not a lot of programs for teenagers at all. It was like, looking for,
Yeah.
it just wasn't. So that's why I'm glad you guys are here.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. We've still got a long way to go, especially here in Texas and across the country. But in response to what we all experienced in COVID and those lasting effects that we're experiencing now and will continue to experience in the years to come, because adolescents, those 2 or 3 years that they were not in their normal routine and in a very vulnerable time during their brain and social development,
Right.
we'll be seeing the effects of COVID for years to come. And so it's great to know that organizations like ours and others across the state of Texas and the country are coming together and working together to collaborate because it takes all of us to increase access to care. And so I'm just grateful for this opportunity to be on and kind of spread the word about what we're doing, but also close that gap between the public being in crisis and then services like ours to help in their time of need.
I got you. It's not only what you're doing, it's the fact that you all are providing a need, and
Yes.
that's where it all starts. Now, let me ask you this question because, see, I am much older than you. I guarantee you, because sometimes when I'm talking to my audience, I can, to my listeners, I was telling them I can go back and talk about games and players that a lot of them weren't even born when they was playing. So, but I'm saying that to say this: mental health and the stigma of mental health, it's changed, especially
Mm-hmm.
within the last 5 years or so. See, I grew up in
Mm-hmm.
an era where we really didn't talk about mental illness, and it was considered like a almost like a scarlet letter. You know what I'm saying? Families didn't talk
Mm-hmm.
about it, but now that stigma is gone, and which is good because kids are quick to say, "Hey, you know what? They're more in tune to their mental health than we are." So I'm glad. But I was asking, have you noticed a change in mental health as far as reporting and how it's being handled?
Oh, Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think a lot of it has to do with generations, but also culturally.
Yes.
I grew up in kind of small town Texas, and I struggled with some depression and anxiety when I was an adolescent. And this was, 20 years ago. But in small town Texas, the answer was, okay, well, go see your pastor.
Yeah.
And there's always room for that if a teen is supported by their spiritual community. But there is also room for the clinical field. We've come a long way, and so we've got to make room for the evidence-based clinical care that's really getting into kind of the nitty-gritty of generational traumas and dysfunctions that our families have been passing down throughout generations, and we've got to break some of these unhealthy cycles and these unhealthy coping strategies to help ourselves heal and help our families heal.
Yeah. Hey, I was reading your credentials here. Can you elaborate a little bit as far as what is a LCDC?
Sure. So a licensed chemical dependency counselor focuses on substance use disorders. My master's was in counseling psychology, and funny story, I actually wanted to get into sports psychology in my master's program, but life kind of happens, and
Yes.
I ended up pivoting different directions and kind of went through my own journey of recovery and just wanted to pursue ways to pay the freedom that I had found forward and help others that were struggling in that journey. And so becoming a licensed chemical dependency counselor was one way to do that among many that I'm, attempting in my walk. But yes, it focuses primarily on substance use disorders.
Okay. Now, you are local. You're local. But let me ask you
I
this
am.
question. And I know you guys deal only with teenagers, right?
Hmm.
Now, a lot of my listeners are out of the state. They're a little bit of, because I have my listeners from all over the place. Because at the end of the day, although my team is the Commanders, but I tell them this show is not a Washington Commanders show. It's for we deal with all the teams, even But don't get me wrong, I love my team and I
Right.
cheer for others to lose. But
Of course.
um, what about outside clients? Are you guys able to address that? Is that something that you guys may be considered in the future or something?
We are. So at Base Point, we talk about being in the first inning of our kind of our growth phases of our organization. We were founded in 2019, and we have 3 sites in DFW.
Wow, y'all
Our
are
goal is to
y'all
have
are a
10.
new baby.
Yeah, we are. We're still kind of babies, but our goal is to have 10 sites across Texas, and then who knows after that. But in the meantime, we are very well connected and partnered with other organizations that have multiple sites across the country that serve different levels of care, that serve different ages and different specialties. So if I would encourage anyone who is looking for resources to use BasePoint, as we call ourselves a Rolodex of resources, because there are just so many good people in this industry
Right.
that are just trying to get people connected to the right kind of help. So if you need support, feel free to give us a call, and we'll do our best to get you headed in the right direction.
Hey, what about your staff?
What about them? They're amazing.
Well, see, I remember when I was a med tech, when I was a mental health tech,
Uh-huh.
we had we were part of several different facilities, but
Mm-hmm.
we would contract out with our psychiatrists. Um,
Ah,
and that's why I was asking, as far as, do y'all contract out? Do y'all have your own in-house psychiatrist? How's that work?
mm. Yes, thank you so much for clarifying about our psychiatrist. That is a huge, huge piece of what we call the base point difference.
Mm-hmm.
Our psychiatrist, we have a full-time W-2 psychiatrist at every single site
Wow.
who is devoted to Base Point Academy and working in person with our clients and our families. So what they do is they report to Base Point. They're there Monday through Friday. 40 plus hours a week, 50 plus hours a week working with these families. And so they do not contract with any other sites. Their work is in person. It is not virtual. And that all stems from the tragic loss of Brittany Serpa, the daughter of of one of our owners. So
Okay.
it's personal to us to
Yes.
have that kind of
That
individualized care
that
and make
personal
sure that these
touch.
families can. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. So now, describe for me the actual intake process. If I'm a parent and I reach out to you guys, or if I walk in, or if I get referred, what how does that process start from the beginning till you know?
You bet. So if, say, Frank, you had a family that was interested in our services or they needed some sort of guidance on what to do, they could make a call to we call it our Patient Access Center. We're open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And that phone number is provided on the collateral if you'd like to share it in either the chat feature or on your YouTube channel. But they would call that number and we would get them connected with one of our patient access coordinators who would just kind of ask some demographic information, your reason for calling, your insurance information, and we would get you scheduled with a licensed clinician to come in and do a fully integrated biopsychosocial assessment. So the first phone call shouldn't take you that long to get an assessment scheduled, and we provide complimentary same-day assessments. And so the goal there is to get you plugged into care as quickly as possible. A lot of places around here have wait lists, and it takes forever to get in, to get assessed. And so at Base Point, you can get in same day, and you can be assessed by a fully licensed clinician and get a plan of care together. The assessment itself takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours, but you walk away with a plan. And if you qualify for our levels of care, those PHP or IOP levels of care, then you would start with us the very next morning. So we're really, really working and expanding our team and our hours in order to be able to meet the need to provide that complimentary assessment service to make sure that families are getting connected to that next step, because we know that data shows us that if families have to wait, if they go to an ER or if they go to an inpatient hospital and they're waiting and they're waiting and they're waiting,
They'll change
and
their
then they
mind.
leave with they'll change their mind. It's pretty defeating to go through that process and go through all that time and energy and even an ER bill to not get any help at all. So at least at Base Point, you're coming and you're getting helped immediately, and you're getting a plan of care together immediately so you can start treatment the next day.
Okay, that's good to know. So now, if I am a parent and I want to, I have a child that's experiencing some issues. Now, one thing, what are some of the signs that parents should look for to kind of give them an idea that maybe they might need to consider, mental health services, or there may be an actual issue or concern?
Sure. I would always start with parents know their child best, right? And if you
Yes.
are seeing anything that is really out of the norm for them or out of character or really way off from their baseline, I would say pay attention and kind of start, taking a mental note of those symptoms. A lot of what we see in adolescents that come to Base Point, they're really struggling with depression and or anxiety, or maybe some behaviors that are coming out sideways, some increased impulsivity, inattention or difficulty concentrating, some of those ADHD symptoms that are a little more on the debilitating side. Grades are declining, maybe they're running away or
Yeah.
avoiding school. So there's some truth there because they're avoiding school, and we're seeing that a lot more in response to COVID, and that really is rooted in anxiety. So depression looks different in a lot of kids. It looks different for everybody, right? But I would say longer periods of sadness or isolation or being withdrawn, kind of holding themselves up in their room and not participating in their social life anymore, or not participating in family life really. Just take note of those things. On the more acute side, we have students that are struggling with suicidal ideation, maybe thoughts of not being here anymore
Right.
or expressing that. And on the most serious side, we have students that are not only struggling with suicidal ideation, but they could have plan and intent. And those are the most severe cases that we have to get seen immediately. Those are emergent cases.
Okay. Now, as I was telling my listeners, I say, look, I am really a. Now you are my evidence that I am actually a school counselor. You know, because here's where I'm going with this is one concern that parents may have, and that's why I wanted to bring you in and bring you on to get you connected so that parents can be connected as well. Because, like I said, some of my same football watching parents are parents, and they deal with the same dynamics
Mhm.
that we all deal with. You know, if you got kids or neighbors' kids, or because it's a community now. It's a lot of the gone are the old picket fence type families where we have blended families, we have social families, we have a little bit of everything now. But
Right.
parents may be concerned is, hey, you know what? My child is an honor student. My child is going to school.
Hmm.
How's that gonna impact my kid if he's in your program? What about
Right.
his school, the school that he attends? What are we gonna do about that? What do you guys have as
Yeah.
far as dealing with those circumstances?
Yes, and thank you for asking that. The fear around getting further behind in school and or not being able to participate in our extracurricular activities are a big reason that students and their parents won't seek treatment for their child. And so at Base Point, what we do is we work directly with schools, uh, like your district, Frank. I'm so excited to be working with your district, but we do not unenroll students from school. We work directly with them to make sure that we're coordinating to get their assignments sent over.
Right.
And so we have structured school time into their treatment day. And on every single Base Point site, we have what's called an education counselor. And so they serve as the liaison between the school district and the student and the family and the treatment team to make sure that the student is staying on top of their schoolwork while they're in treatment with us, so they're able to seek those services and not get further behind.
Okay, that's good. And I'm glad you guys have that because one of the conflicts that, a lot of times when we were dealing with some other entities and other agencies would always be about conflict dealing as far as with funding because, schools, how they get their funding. So and when you said you guys don't have to unenroll the child because his educational needs are still being met, which is definitely a good avenue to have. So now let's talk about funding. How is the when I say funding, we're talking about the costs.
Yes. So we are able to utilize families' insurances for treatment. And so, what our organization really kind of the demographic, our demographic sweet spot is that the firefighter or the teacher that has this Blue Cross of Texas card, right? That they don't know that they can seek these kinds of mental health services with their insurance. So we are in network with all major commercial insurances, and we are currently in the process of getting in network with TRICARE as well. And so, just in the short amount of time that we have been operating since 2019, we've been able to accomplish this, which has been a huge, huge feat. And so, aside from being in network with all commercial insurances, we're also able to offer financial flexibility with payment plans. If a family is not able to put up their deductible right up front, that's okay. We don't want finances to be the reason
Right.
that a family can't take the service that they need.
Okay, that's good to know. So now, is there anything that I didn't cover, I that you want my listening audience to know that maybe there's a service or there's something that maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about that you want to make sure that the listening audience out there knows?
Yeah, a couple things regarding access to care is my fault. I didn't even mention the ages that we serve. I know, but we serve 11 to 18 years old. If the student is still in high school, if they're 18, that's okay. Another big thing about access to care and what makes up the Base Point difference for us is that we provide transportation to and from treatment.
Oh, that's
so
good.
We have full-time employees that are background checked drivers of Base Point, and their sole purpose is to help kids get to and from treatment. So we're able to coordinate either meet points or do a home pickup or a home drop off. Our society today, it's not just one parent working in the household, but most likely both parents are working. So we need to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to get kids plugged into care. And transportation has been a huge, huge win for Base Point and our families. I would say probably 80 to 90% of our families utilize that service, and it is complimentary as well.
All right. Hey, Whitney, want to thank you for calling in and being a guest on my show. Now, I want to I definitely want to have you back. So I'm thinking about developing what I call a state of a state of mental health for my guests. When we get to like those first games when your team is not winning, we might have to get you to call in and kind of like talk some of my talk some of my listeners off the edge. Hell, you may have to talk me off the edge. So we had to get you.
I have a long history of being disappointed by the Cowboys every year.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm going to love having you on.
I'd be happy to come back. We can all commiserate.
Hey, thank you very much. Hey, get one last plug in and give my listening audience your phone number, any information that you think they need to have. But I'm actually going to also attach that to my YouTube page too. But if there's anything that you want to give out as far as the number to the company and email address and all that good stuff, hey, go ahead and knock it out.
Oh, perfect, Frank. Thank you. So, yes, our Patient Access Center can be reached at 972-325-2633. Again, that's 972-325-2633, and that is for Base Point Academy Patient Access Center. It's been such a pleasure being on, Frank. Like my sports fans and mental health gurus. I love it. Be happy to come back anytime.
All right. Hey, thank you. Thanks for calling, okay?
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, bye. Sports Therapy with F.H. Jr.
What's up, F.H. Jr.? This is the Ravens extraordinaire, Brandon Cooper, man. I was under the weather last week, but I'm back, baby, for the first official week of preseason football.
Brother Cooper. I need to ask you some things. First of all, what's the deal with your boy, man, with your running back?
Okay, so
I'm waiting.
Let's get this. Okay. J.K. Dobbins is trying to hold out for a new contract. Now, we all know the running back market.
We do.
I believe the running backs will come together and figure this out. But if you look at J.K. Dobbins, 2 years ago, he missed the whole season with
That's
the ACL.
That's my point. Bruh.
And last year, this man missed 8 games.
Yes.
Off and on, with Soros. And now you're trying to hold out.
Yes.
If he would have played this year and he would have played a full season and he would have made the Pro Bowl, then I can understand. But you think it's plenty of running backs that have a case to get paid.
He ain't one of them.
He's barely been playing any games. Is he? Come on, dude. And he was a second-round pick, I believe.
Yes.
So he does have quite a bit of guaranteed money on the table. But I just don't understand. I mean, brother, you don't really have the leverage at this point. Saquon has leverage. Eckler has leverage. Chubb has leverage.
Nick Chubb
Josh Jacobs has leverage. Brother, what are you doing?
I couldn't wait to talk to you because I needed to say, please, am I looking at this the wrong way? I'm like, wait a minute, this brother hadn't played a whole season. I don't think has he played a whole season? Without.
No, he hasn't. You know what? And I'm glad you mentioned that because we signed. We had Gus at running back. We signed Melvin Gordon, which was a good 1-year pickup. And let's look at the stats. Since people think I'm going too hard, and I'm real big on being the player first type of guy.
Yes,
I understand what they're doing to the running backs. J.K. Dobbins is entering his 4th year in the NFL. This man was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2020 draft. His first season, he played 15 games, started 1, had 134 carries, 805 yards, 9 touchdowns, 6 yards a carry. Second year, he missed due to an ACL injury. Third year, which was this past year, he played 8 games, started all 8 games, 92 carries, 520 yards, 5.7 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns. So technically, in your first 3 years you were eligible to play, because this is your 4th, you've only played 23 games and started 9.
Show me the money.
I can't. And my thing is, bro, you got people like Josh Jacobs, you got people like Dalvin Cook who are in the prime of their career who can't even get a contract and get paid.
So, Brandon, let me ask you this question. When he first came in, wasn't he sharing and splitting time with somebody?
Yes. So when he came in 2020, right, our starting running backs were, it was Mark Ingram,
yes,
Gus Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
They were getting the bulk of the carries,
yes,
J.K. Dobbins. So Gus Edwards had 144 carries that year. J.K. Dobbins had 134. Mark Ingram had 72. But those 3 were splitting time. And then, of course, Lamar Jackson, had the most carries and most rushing yards that year. But I just don't understand where are we going with this? Because what is your leverage? I don't know. It's beyond me at this point. And I mean, we got Melvin Gordon, of course, which was a good 1-year deal, so that'll suffice. But I just don't understand, why are we doing this? So now we have another distraction during training camp, which is unnecessary. So I'm all for brothers getting paid, but come on, G.
I just wanted to know, man, was it me, or did I have my running backs mixed up? I
mean, right now, we have 3 running backs that are healthy and good to go. We have Gus Edwards, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, and Melvin Gordon. All right. Okay, you don't want to play? Bet.
Now let's make a mind shift. The word is that no team is looking good. If you hold on, let me say this. If you are a listener and you're just calling in and you want to know what the hell am I listening to, you are listening to Sports Therapy with F.H. Jr., where callers get 2 minutes to rant, kick knowledge, share some knowledge, cuss. I got the cussing bell just in case you want to drop an F-bomb. But I'm saying that because here's how I feel about preseason. I personally think the preseason is for teams who really need to get it together. That's why when I see a team that, oh, man, they're blowing everybody out in the preseason, that's probably because the teams who kind of ready to play, they're not getting anybody hurt. So they're not playing anybody. They're not showcasing anything. They're giving you just a vanilla of this and da-da-da, trying to make sure they don't get anybody hurt. So teams who really, really play hard, and they got to get things together. But everybody look good in shorts, man. When we had people reporting the training camp, they're like, "Oh man, such and such look good." Man, I'm watching the NFL Network, and they were talking about how good the guys were looking. I look, man, hell, wasn't nobody in shoulder pads. Everybody got shorts on. But they were saying, oh yeah, when they put on the pads, oh the offense was looking terrible. All the offense. Anybody, if anybody has played football in their life, they know that the defense is gonna always be ahead of the offense. You know what I'm saying? They are. Defense, see ball, tackle ball. Yeah, I'm being facetious a little bit, but come on, brother.
You're not, and this is. I'm glad you said that, right? Because maybe I'm gonna be a little old school in this, right?
Every once in
Of
a while,
course,
we let you hang out with us old schoolers.
Like, so you and I, when we were growing up, we did have two-a-days and everything.
Yes.
Now they stopped doing two-a-days on every level after the year after I finished playing college football. So all the way up from Pee Wee all the way up, I always had two-a-days, right?
Right.
But now they don't, which sometimes I kind of understand. Now the one thing that two-a-days did have was, that's how you got tough. That's how
either tough or you quit.
Your body ready for the season.
Either you got tough or you go quit.
Yes. Now I do believe a lot of that stuff was excessive.
True.
But it's the fact that the practices were harder and a little more physical. It trained your body. A lot of guys now, when that first regular season comes, that's when they're starting to go full go.
Right.
And that's why you're starting to kind of see so many injuries, that happen at earlier points in the season. It's grit and grind. And, my coaches used to always tell me, hey, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. You look good and you a helmet and shorts all-star. When the pants come on, it's a different story.
Man.
And I played the defensive line,
man.
So you couldn't duck and hide contact.
Man, trust me, I played with plenty of guys that look like that was practice all-stars, and they get in the game, man, it's a whole different, Then I had some cats, man, they get in practice, the next thing you know, man, it's like, wow, who is this guy? Because he landing a lick on somebody. So, man, I don't read too much into that, brother.
Man, it's to the point now where Nick Saban has a real good model for this. He said, at the end of the day, I really don't know who this kid is until he gets in pads during training camp. Now, the good thing about places like Alabama and Georgia is, hell, you got the third string better than the first string. And there's so much competition at those colleges. We gonna find out who can play real quick. Yep. And if you ain't ready, you can hit the portal. You know what I mean? You can hit the portal if you want to. But we're going to find out real quick who can get these helmets or shoulder pads on. Now, in the case of the NFL, I oftentimes do have something against, you cut off, you start training camp with about 100 guys.
Right.
Because you have one less preseason game, you got 3 weeks to go from 100 to 53 guys. You mean to tell me some of the times that we see out there in the NFL, you mean to tell me you cut men who you told weren't able to make that play, and then on Sunday, that's what you drag out there?
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You mean to tell me all those players you had, all these hungry guys that want to make a team, because football is different than every other sport. You can't go overseas and play football and get as much money, and you can't go to these different G leagues, and you can't do YouTube football and make money.
Nope.
It ain't like, basketball, baseball, you go here, you can play it. No. And if you're not in the NFL, you ain't making top dollar.
No.
And for guys in the preseason to be told you're not good enough to make that play on Sunday, and then for us to watch football on Sunday and watch the same BS.
I know. It makes you wonder who is evaluating talent.
Exactly.
And a lot of times you get guys just want to strictly go off of the college, hey, he's and the college name. He's playing from Alabama. He's coming from OU. He's coming from Ohio State. And so you just let the guy's record just basically, okay, hey, he's a first round draft pick, he automatically gonna start at cornerback. He's a first round draft pick, he's automatically starting at defensive tackle. Second round draft
Yes,
pick, he's
and
automatic.
because if you're a first or second round draft pick, you got a lot more guaranteed
Yep.
money there
Oh
invested in.
yeah.
So of course they're gonna put you out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's something else, man. In fact, I was also following up on, because you know how I feel about the running back. I've talked about that, but now they're saying, hey, this maybe the solution to running backs having a long career is, hey, have them to dial it back as far as even in Pee Wee. You know, these guys taking these hits, these carries in Pee Wee. Cut down on those. Cut down on the carries in middle school. Cut down on those carries in high school. Cut down on those carries in college, so that when he or she get, I mean not she, but when he gets to the NFL, hey, he can add a little bit more longevity on the back end of his career.
Okay, this is where I'm gonna go with that. Before I start off, the highest paid running back in the NFL is this year's Bijan Robinson.
I know.
And he was the first round draft pick, right? That's crazy.
Yep.
Because he's a rookie. Whenever I hear the load management for running backs, let's look at Derrick Henry when he was in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want you to see these stats. Okay. Derrick Henry's high school stats. This man, over the course of 4 years in high school, played 48 games. This man had 1,397 rush attempts in 4 years. This man had over 12,000 yards, averaged 8.7 yards a carry, and had 153 touchdowns in high school. Now let's look at Derrick Henry in college, right?
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry in college at Alabama. In his 3 seasons at Alabama, he had 602 carries, almost 3,600 yards, 6 yards a carry, 42 touchdowns, right?
Right.
All right. Let's look at Derrick Henry in the NFL. Derrick Henry in the NFL, this man has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. In 102 games, this man has had 1,750 attempts, 8,400 yards, 78 touchdowns, 4.8 yards a carry. Derrick Henry has had that much mileage put on his body, and he came out in my class, so he's 28, 29, so he's 29, and he can still go.
Still running over fools.
Exactly. Now, Derrick Henry is a cyborg. Right?
Yeah.
Now, when you take somebody like Dalvin Cook, which for the past 4, he's been in the league 6 years. The past 4 seasons, this man has had over 1,100 yards a season. My thing is, when you look at 2 running backs who, in the modern era, when you look at Zeke and you look at Todd Gurley, those are the 2 main guys you can look at it. You can say, after they got the money, their production declined, right?
Right.
Todd Gurley because he had arthritic knees.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott because his mind was just not in the game.
Right.
Right. Running backs and running backs had even more carries back in the day. Running back is a position where you're going to get beat up, but I can argue and I can say that for every other position. Now, they've made the game and they've shifted it to being more of a quarterback wide receiver 7-on-7 style.
Right.
Right? Because that, I guess, is more fun, more entertaining. When you look at the running back market, it's going to be a constant, you're going to get beat up. And that's just the name of the game. At every position, you're going to get beat up. But running backs do take a lot more hits. Now, if you start from Pee Wee on up, I don't think you can load manage on the way up. Because let's say in high school you have a team,
and you ain't guaranteeing the kid that's in Pee Wee ball go.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't be a first round draft pick unless you have that type of production in college. You can't be a 5-star prospect at running back unless you show the production.
Right. I
So
got you.
if that's the case, is there just going to be running back by committee all the way through college, and then because then running backs won't get taken in the first 3 rounds of the draft?
Nope.
You're gonna have less guaranteed money,
man.
because if that's the case, they're gonna sign you to a 3-year contract, franchise you for 2 more years. You've been in the league 5 years. 5 years. So now technically, what are you? 27, 26?
Yep. Something like that. But hey, brother, let me get you get a plug for what you guys do, and let me get my next call in here.
Yes, sir, my man. Appreciate you having me on, my brother. We're gonna closely monitor this running back situation. The Cowboys, I gotta love the way Diggs went at Dak. Shows the lack of respect for their starting quarterback. But the Ravens this week, we continue our preseason game winning streak. We play the Eagles. This is your boy Brandon Cooper, Ravens extraordinaire. Hey, man, tap in. My boys and I have the D1 Ignite University podcast. It's D1 Ignite University. Everybody that's participating in fantasy football, please think before you pick.
All right, man. Thank you, brother.
All right, yes, sir. Appreciate you having me on, my brother.
All right, man. Sports Therapy with F.A. Jr.
What's going on, my brother?
It's my homeboy Glenn. What's up, homeboy?
You got the best.
Hey, man. I want to talk to you about the Hall of Fame. That first game, you know how I feel about preseason, man. I don't hide. I think preseason is to me, I wouldn't even have a preseason. I just think just like high school, hell, we don't have preseason in high school. We just start playing. You get better as you go. I think we should add a few more games and let them cats go for it, man. You know what I'm saying? Practice who?
It might as well.
Keep who you gonna keep in practice, and let's play. Let's play football because. You know, that's how I feel. But, hey, let me ask you this question, homeboy Glenn, and I got you here. I was watching the Hall of Fame inductees. I was watching the speeches, and some of them, and, a lot of those guys had a story to tell. They did. A lot of them had a story to tell. I was really warmed over by some of the stories, especially I believe Ware had a good story. He was telling about, where he came from. And it's funny how all roads lead to mom, because, man, those mothers are invested. Moms have been there, and they would give. But what I like about is that a lot of those guys would go back and talk about and describe how even their high school coaches, it's funny how they can name every coach from a position coach to veteran players, everybody who showed them how to be professionals, who showed them how to go about their business. And they thanked all those guys from, to help them make it to the Hall. Now, honestly, I still think there are some people that I question why they're not in the Hall of Fame. You can't explain to me why Lester Hayes is not in the Hall of Fame. You can't explain to me why my man, who plays for the Cowboys, why he not in the Hall of Fame. You can't explain to me why I'm talking about Darren Woodson. You can't explain to me why Uncle Woody not in there. You can't explain to me why Jacoby not in there. Come on, man.
Steve McMichael.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
I'm gonna tell you something. I remember you asking that question a few weeks ago, but I got to thinking about it. I'm gonna tell you somebody got a better stat than Steve Young and Troy Aikman, and they not in there. It's Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
He got better stats than Steve. All you have to do is pull it up. He got better stats than Troy Aikman, Steve Young, and Dan Fouts.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And I don't get it.
And see, and I think, things have changed now where when they start inducting people into the Hall, I think we need to stop putting in 9, 12. Hey, man, hell, it's about 25 guys should go in that Hall of Fame every year. Yeah, because the
That's right,
game,
man.
because the game is changed and the stats is changing, and I just think you can't take the stats from today's guys and apply it to the guys who played yesteryear because it's not the same game. You know,
That's right.
the old school was a power run game. It was centered around the run. Now everything is centered around pass. Hell, you got guys who can't even run block anymore because they're used to the offensive line can't run block anymore because they're used to pass blocking.
No.
I mean, hell, it's a different game all around. But let's get some more of those guys in the hall that need to be in there, man. Like I said, it's
Well, to me, they had a 52, man.
it seems that way.
To me, the Hall of Fame and all, they have some favoritism.
It seemed that way. Oh, I knew what I wanted to tell you, homeboy Glenn. The richest person the richest owner in the NFL is the guy that owned the
Carolina Panthers.
Nah. It's the guy that owned the Denver Broncos, man. He got double the amount of money that the Panthers owners got. Whereas they coming in around $15-16 billion. Man, the guy the Walton, man, he's around $30 billion. He the man.
Wow.
He the man. But hey, neither one of them gonna miss lunch. Neither one of them gonna start at them. I can tell you that much.
No, I don't see them starting no time soon.
Hey, brother, you ready for preseason?
Man. Yeah, I don't really get off into.
I don't
I
either.
was listening with you and the other. I was listening to you and the other guy was talking earlier, and he was making a lot of sense what he was saying, and you made a lot of sense what you said too about the preseason. Man, I don't understand why you play so many games to get ready for the regular season.
Yeah. See, I remember, man, when and like I tell people, that's why when it comes to the NBA, I don't believe in there's no GOAT. There's no such thing as the greatest of all time. I believe there are GOATs. They are the greatest of all time in their era because you can't compare eras. Everybody got to have somebody to model off of. Now, when we were playing football, when you came in the football season, you were in shape because the coaches gave you the off-season, they gave you the off-season training. And you knew if you didn't come in shape, I mean, you had to play, you know it. And I know it's a different game. Guys got their brand and whatever. I mean, I'm cool with that. But I'm just saying, if we're going to grow the game, man, let's do away with that preseason, man. You know what? I would rather see the league add 4 more teams. 4 more teams. Hell, I'd rather see them add 8 more teams. And some of those guys who don't make football teams, because there's a lot of talented guys who got talent, who just don't get to make football teams because there's only so many spots. I would love to see them have some additional teams. So, you know what? You can spread that around, and that way, that's me. I'd rather see that happening than to see preseason, man. I can't stand I can't, man. I can't stand preseason.
I don't even watch preseason.
I don't either.
Because it don't serve no purpose for me.
Well, I used to kind of like they used to start like, for example, when the preseason, the starters used to play like the first quarter. Okay, then the second preseason, they might let them play the halftime. Then the third preseason, they might let them play a little bit. You gonna at least get a good halftime workout. Now the last game they don't play. That's when you checking out the rookies. Now you got to where the starters don't even play at all. They don't even play at all. I'm like, what the hell?
Right, they don't play.
They don't play at all. Don't even play at all. And now they're saying Denver's coach said he gonna make your boy play. That quarterback, he gonna make him play. Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he gonna make him play the first game. Now either he trying to run Russell away, or he's trying to get on the same page as far as getting the offense together, because it is a new offense.
I kind of lost a little respect for Denver coach Sean Payton.
Oh yeah.
You know what he got up there said about the coach last week, man. That's childish, really, man.
Yeah. You
I don't care how you look at it, man. That's child. You don't get up and talk about another coach like that, man.
Nah.
Regardless what kind of situation.
Nah. When the bottom line is when when you inherit a team, all the warts and everything that come along, that's you. That comes with the position. You don't get to come in and say, "Hey, man, you know, we don't have this, we didn't have that, da da da." You make okay because you're making it look like you're coming in here as to be the savior. So if that's the case, they had better do something in Denver because you're coming in saying, "Hey, this guy was like a hotel up here. It was cupcake and like, come on, man."
That's right. Man, it just I just didn't get down like what he said about the opposing coach.
Nah,
Because hey, when you come to take a job like that, like you just said a while ago, it's all on you. Now. That's why you got to hire to try to change things to make it better.
that's on you. You can't come in
That's
and,
right.
and start saying, "Hey, man, this was this," and nah. But I need to ask you about your Steelers, brother. Y'all getting some injuries to your DBs, man. You got to suit up.
Man, look like we is, man. I don't know what we're going to do. We might have to go get Lester Hayes or somebody because I don't know what we're going to do, man. And see, that's the part of football will hurt you, man. No matter how good of a team you have, injuries, 1 or 2 injuries away,
Yep.
mess your whole team up.
Yeah, and that's why when I tell people, for me, the season don't start now because they got 17 games now. But I used to tell people, man, the season don't start until game 8. Game 8 is going to determine where you are. Either you're at 500, you're above 500. You don't had your injuries. Your teams have went through that what all teams go through, where you have a bunch of injuries. And I just know because you can start off and you 5-0, and then you lose your quarterback or you lose your edge rusher, or you lose your left tackle. You screwed, man. So
Yeah, you're in trouble.
you in trouble big time, man, big time, man.
But what do you think about Diggs? What he told Dak Prescott, what he did.
Well, to me now, I think you just talking smack, man. I think that's kind of how they roll, man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you need that dog in football. You need that edge. You need whatever. I think that's just how they talk smack to each other, though, really, man. Because we can't judge.
I don't think it was nothing really personal or nothing.
Nah, see, because you can't judge today's guys based on, at the end of the day, defense gonna always talk to too, whatever, and I'm sure that they probably call each other names outside their names and whatever, man. Like I said, I just think everybody, well, hey, you don't have any respect for the quarterback. Nah, that's just how they roll, man. I didn't think anything of that.
Yeah,
Now,
like you say, they do that all the time.
Now Dak get to throw an interception. Dak get to throw an interception in big games. And the defense, then they gonna have some worries for him. They'll fool around and ask you, "Hey man, what team you on?"
Right, that's right.
But as far as that other stuff, nah, man. I just think that's just boys being boys, man. It's just football, man. Yeah, they call each other all kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just football, man. Just football.
At the end of the day, that's all it is.
At the end of the day, dog,
trying to make that team.
it is just football, man. That's all it is, Glenn. It's just football, man. Football in America, bro. That's all it is.
That's right. I can't wait till the regular season starts.
Ooh, man, me, you, everybody, bro. I can't wait. Every time I come on, I'm going to tell you what my game meal is. Hey, Doc, I had this, I had that. But I just can't get up for a preseason, man. I just can't, man. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm glad football is back. Give us a little something to watch or whatever. But that's that preseason, man. It's like, nah.
Yeah, because I've been watching a little baseball. Just off of just messing with baseball. But it ain't nothing like watching good football games.
Yeah. Because I've been kind of following the Rangers. I usually like to watch the Rangers and the Astros because they had a race against each other for the division. And so I watched a little basketball, and not basketball. I'm sorry. I did watch that 3-on-3, the big three. I'm sorry. I watched some of the big three, man. I kind of like watching some of them old schoolers, stuff like that. Just because, you got to have that filler in between football season. Got to have something to watch, man. Something to watch.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's like I said, I just be sitting there waiting patiently. Sooner or later, football season counting down. I'm ready for college football too.
I know, man.
See how things work out there.
I know. And see, even with college football, man, everything changing. Conferences are changing. Teams changing conferences. Oklahoma and Texas gonna be in the SEC. Woo, they gonna get their head handed to them the first day when they first come up in here, though, Doc. You got teams. Man. They are, man. They gonna find out what the Hogs found out when we first moved to the SEC, man. You gotta have, it's certain players you got to have to play in the SEC, and you gotta have 2 and 3 of them to play, because that SEC is tough, and it usually take you about 2 or 3 years to get your kind of players, because when you first get into the conference, those guys they don't know you. They gonna go and play for those SEC schools that's already established. So
that's right.
Because
it's gonna be tough, man.
Oh, it is. Because
I like that. Hey, what you think about Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten?
I think that's I think that's a good choice for them. Like I said, everything is getting realignment, man.
Yeah.
And
what you think that's going to happen to the Pac-12? They gonna fold?
I think what'll happen, they'll probably get some teams out of the Mountain West, because they still got some small little league that they can get people from. But at the end of the day, though, if you want to really get to where you're making the money, because the TV contract, they follow the conference with the the big names. So either they gonna have to join in with some of the big boys, but at the end of the day, bro, the big boys they've taken all the teams that they want. SEC took who they want. Big 12 took who they wanted. I think the only team out there now that anybody would really want, if it would be Notre Dame, and they had to figure out. They got to figure out where they're gonna go. But
what you think about? Do you think Florida State will leave the ACC?
Well, now see, you get those teams like that are still hanging on. They may combine and create some conference for themselves. Notre Dame, Florida State. There's a couple of them out there, but at the end of the day, because it's like those power conferences are not going to take an individual team, because it'll get them odd numbers. So if they take Florida State, somebody got to come along with them. Florida State, Notre Dame, or you know what I'm saying?
Notre Dame is not going to go, because they've been independent for a long time.
Yeah, but see, they're going to, sooner or later, they ain't what they used to be, and they're not getting the athletes that they used to get. So, and I know one of the reasons they want to remain independent, because they have that contract with NBC where they're actually getting paid, but things are changing, man. They're gonna have to get somewhere. Otherwise, they're gonna get left out in the cold. They're gonna get left out in the cold, brother.
Because like that, man, things change quick.
Just like playing musical chairs, man. When that music stop, you better be in the seat or you out. So they gotta do something, man. Otherwise, it's like, hey, they'll just be a has-been, man. It's like, oh, Notre Dame, okay, who are they? Things are changing. But my brethren, I am going to shut this bad boy down, and you about to hear the sound of my music. Once again, this has been Sports Therapy with F.A. Jr. Want to thank my special guest, Whitney Dixon from Base Point Academy. I'd like to thank my homeboy Glenn for calling in. Also, my man B. Cooper with Ignan University. I'd like to thank all the country kiddies in Arkansas. I want to thank all those who listen to F.A. Jr. with Sports Therapy that allow us to be us. And remember, I also like to thank my sponsor, Crown Royal. Patiently blended since 1939. After a long day of crime fighting, I reach for a bottle of Crown and I say, crown me, baby, to those on the yard. always stay golden. And we will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.